Hi y'all, how y'all doing? It's Melody Lee here and welcome to my corner of the internet where I just do things I like and talk about stuff that I like to do. In this video, I am going to do books that I have read over my downtime. I haven't been reading a lot lately because of the fact that I just finished up university and I'm trying to get back into the world after being vaccinated. Yay. Can you just say a big thank you to, or I'll say a big thank you to the two ladies who helped get the vaccine that I've got, the AstraZeneca vaccine, created and out there to people. And it's by two women who led that. And I wish I was really good at science, but science is not my forte. As we all know, if you go and look at my previous videos, history is my forte, and so is books and literature, and that's where we like to stay here on this channel, if we're going for fortes or not. Now, these books I'm not going to give in-depth sort of reviews on, because of the fact is that I have read them over the past like 3-4 months. My reading list is very slow this year. I don't even think I'm going to get to my 60 books, but I am moving through slowly to get to somewhere where I would like to be as things happen and as we're trying to get a sense of what the new normal will look like. I've also been trying to get more outside since with my depression and everything, if you know about that I've discussed that on my channel before, has led me to lock myself away from mines, and I am trying to get back out there in the world and release the presence of me and all of my bubbly nature upon my friends, family, and other people. You may hear noise in the background. That'll be my husband and my children cleaning the house. Not that I don't clean, it's just that they're working on other stuff there. But we're gonna start with the last book I read. I can't remember what day it was, but I'm sure I talked about, well, we'll go on the last book that I can remember reading, and that is Devil's Knot, and it's by Mara Leverett. Let me just bring this up here. Excuse me. So it's about the West Memphis 3. This was a book for the book club, True Crime Book Club. Unfortunately, I haven't been popping into the live sessions because I've just had a bit of a mental block, but I'm hoping to get there this Sunday with the most recent book that I've read. So I don't have a book to show you because this was a digital book that I had on Amazon. So this is what I've read about it. I'm going to read you the synopsis and a bit of what I think. So, for weeks in 1993, after the grisly murders of 3 8-year-old boys, police in West Memphis, Arkansas seemed stumped. Then suddenly, detective charged 3 teenagers, alleged members of a satanic cult, with the killings. Despite the witch hunt atmosphere of the trials and a case that included stunning investigative blunders, the teenagers who became known as the West Memphis 3 were convicted. Jurors sentenced Jason Baldwin and Jesse Miskelly to life in prison, and Damian Eccles, the accused ringleader, to death. The guilty verdicts were popular in their home state, even upheld on appeal, and all 3 remained in prison until their unprecedented release in August 2011. In The Devil's Knot, award-winning investigative journalist Mara Leverett presents the most comprehensive, insightful reporting ever done on this story. One of the greatest miscarriages of justice done in American legal history. In-depth research, meticulous reconstruction of the investigation, and close-up views of its key participants unravel the many tangled knots of this endlessly shocking case. Now, I do know a bit about this case, as before, as a child of the 90s, we heard about that, especially with family living in Memphis. We knew about this case. When you read the book, you will see that the facts on this case never added up to these teenagers. actually committing the crimes, and the way that they are released actually is a bit annoying as well. I gave this 4 stars because I felt like it was in depth, and it was a really good read. As in really good, I don't mean about the actual subject. I mean that the content was very, as I said, comprehensive and well researched, and you found out a lot of things on this here. The next one I read, which I do not have a physical copy for, is Hell in the Heartland, Murder, Meth, and the Case of 2 Missing Girls, and that's by Jax Miller, and I give that a 5 stars. Oh, if I didn't say, I gave the previous one 4 stars. So this one, I will just read this. The stranger-than-fiction cold case from rural Oklahoma that has stumped authorities for 2 decades concerning the disappearance of 2 teenage girls and the much larger mystery of murder, police cover-up, and unimaginable truth. On December 30th, 1999, in rural Oklahoma, 16-year-old Ashley Freeman and her best friend Loria Bible were having a sleepover. The next morning, the Freeman family trailer was in flames and both the girls were missing. While rumors of drug debts, revenge, and police collusion abounded in the years that followed, the case remained unsolved and the girls were never found. In 2015, crime writer Jax Miller, who had been haunted by the case, decided to travel to Oklahoma to find out what really happened on that winter night in 1999 and why the story was still simmering more than 15 years later. What she found was more than she could ever bargain for: jaw-dropping levels of police negligence, corruption, and entire communities ravaged by methamphetamine addiction, and a series of interconnected murders with an ominously familiar pattern. These forgotten towns were wild, lawless, and home to some very dark secrets. This is actually a very good investigative thing. At the time of writing, I don't think they had found the bodies of the 2 girls yet. However, there has been, I believe, at least 2 people who have been convicted for their murders. But we're not really sure exactly what happened yet because it's all compiled up into this mess. But as you can see, there's like a thread here of police corruption and bungled investigations. And I think with a lot of true crime books, you do realize that that's what is going on. The interesting fact is not the fact that the crime happened, and the interesting fact is the background of the victims of the crime and how the authorities handled said crime to either solve it or not solve it. That's where the most interesting lies in the true crime genre. And for a lot of cases that are, let's say, popular as books, those crimes have not been solved by police, or if they have, it's taken many years to get to that point. Okay. So, let me just sit here. 2 seconds. I'm missing a book on here. Hold on. It's probably not set the time. All books. So let me just go down here. I'm sure it's on here. Two seconds. So another book that I read was this book, Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race, and it's by Renee Edo-Lodge. I'll just read the synopsis on this. In 2014, award-winning journalist Renee Edo-Lodge wrote about her frustration with the way that discussions of race and racism in Britain were being led by those who weren't affected by it. She posted a piece on her blog entitled Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race that led to this book, exploring issues from eradicated Black history to the political purpose of white dominance, whitewash feminism, to the inextricable link between class and race. Renee Edo-Lodge offers a timely, essential new framework for how to see, acknowledge, and counter racism. It's a searing, illuminating, absolutely necessary exploration of what it is like to be a person of color in Britain today. To say I enjoyed the book is like, I enjoyed the book, I enjoyed the content, and the way that the message came across in the book. I also quite liked how there was a history put in here about the background of Black people in Britain and their place in history in Britain. And also there is a good point to be made about how we benefit from the system, even if we didn't build the system, and the system is inherently racist because it was built to prop up white men. Because we are in the system and we are white people, we will benefit from that system. And the only way to take down, to resolve this issue is to take down the whole system, which is true because you've got to build a system from ground up if you want it to be completely equal for all people. Or at least that's what I believe. If you want to correct me on that, please put a comment below. I don't mind being corrected or educated. That is what we're here for. We're here to be educated and corrected. Okay, so we're getting to my physical books now. So I gave that one a 5-star because I do like the points, and I want to hear points from different opposing points of view, not necessarily racist points of view, but different opposing views of people who experience racism and how they navigate their world in that way, and how we can, how us as white people, well, me as a white person and family can like help to not oppress them any further. Like say we do benefit from that system. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that any further because I don't think that I have a standing point on that. However, I will talk about this next book, which kind of ties into that, which is Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. And let me just read this. Teeming with life and crackling with energy, a love song to modern Britain and Black womanhood, Girl, Woman, Other follows the lives and struggles of 12 very different characters, mostly women, Black and British. They tell the stories of their families, friends, lovers across the country and throughout the years. Joyfully polyphonic and vibrantly contemporary, this is a glorious new kind of history, a novel for our times, celebratory, ever dynamic, and utterly irresistible. My rating for this one is 4 stars. I quite enjoyed it. Is written in like a prose style, like it flows kind of thing. And the women in the book are all connected. However, it is like they're short stories as well. They're all connected through this play that the one the one lady writes in it. Also, there's a point in here that I actually took on that. And it has to go with the systematic racism as well. And it has to go with different levels of systematic racism, which she makes in her point. Or she makes it a point in her book to say that there are different levels and different levels of privilege, shall we say. So like if you are, say if you have 2 teachers, one's Black, one's white, and the white one most likely would have more privilege than the Black woman. However, if you have like a poor Black person, or sorry, a poor white person and a person in a corporate world, you've got different levels of privilege showing there as well. And that's the point that she makes, and it is something to think about. So it's this is a book that made me think as well. And like I said, I'm not an expert on this. I'm just trying to educate myself and read more across different genres. Like I said, 4 stars. It's a very good book. I would say it's a good book for women and men if you want to know some insight. But I really liked it. So there we go. Next book that I read is this one. I don't know if I mentioned this. No, I probably didn't because I finished it in May. So it's Last Call, a true story of love, lust, and murder in queer New York, and it's by Elon Green. I gave this a 4 stars. Let me just read you the synopsis. So, the gripping true story told here from the first time of the last call killer and the gay community of New York that he preyed upon. The Townhouse Bar, Midtown, July 1992. The piano player seems to know every song ever written. The crowd belts out the lyrics to their favorites, and a man standing nearby is drinking a scotch and water. The man strikes the piano player as forgettable. He looks bland and inconspicuous. Not all what you think... Hold on. Not all what you think a serial killer looks like, but that's what he is. And tonight he has his sights set on a gray-haired man. He will not be his first victim, nor will he be his last. The last call killer preyed upon gray men in New York in the 80s and 90s and had all the hallmarks of the notorious serial killers. Yet because of the sexualities of his victims, the sky-high murder rates, and the AIDS epidemic, his murders have been almost entirely forgotten. This gripping true crime narrative tells us the story of the last call killer and the decades-long chase to find him. And at the same time, it paints a portrait of his victims and a vibrant community navigating threat and resilience. So the reason it's good 4 stars, you've got like a journalist wrote it. It's not the longest book, but it does contain a lot of information. The only thing is that I found sometimes it hard to know which characters, because he kept which people he was talking about, because he kept flipping back and forth and just using the last name. And I found that a bit difficult. However, what I really liked is that it focused mostly on the victims and not the killer. And you don't really hear much about the killer till the very end. So this is not a book about the serial killer himself, really. It's a book about the victims and the way the victims were treated as gay men in New York and the surrounding areas. Definitely recommend for this if you want to know some more history about well, homosexual history, gay rights. There's a little bit about the Gay Liberation Front and things like that in there. But this is a good book that tells the story of the victims more than the actual killer. And to be honest, that's what we need to do, is lift up the victims in all these horrific things. Now, the last book I've got on my list, which you'll be glad to know, is another true crime book. Again, all the true crime books I have been reading are for the True Crime Book Club. This is the most recent one. So it's, I did miss out a book because I did finish it technically, but I kind of was listening to it on Audible, kind of fell asleep and need to redo it. So this is called The Babysitter, My Summers with a Serial Killer, and it's by Liza Rodman with Jennifer Jordan as well. And it tells let me just read the synopsis and then I'll tell you what, a bit more. So, growing up on Cape Cod in the 1960s, Liza Rodman was a lonely little girl. During the summers, while her mother worked days in a local motel and danced most nights in the Provincetown bars, her babysitter, the kind, handsome handyman at the motel where her mother worked, took her and her sister on ventures in his truck. But there was one thing that she didn't know. Their babysitter was a serial killer. Some of his victims were buried in pieces right there in his garden in the woods. Though Tony Costa's gruesome case made the screaming headlines in 1969 and beyond, Liza never made the connection between her friendly babysitter and the infamous killer of numerous women, including 4 in Massachusetts, until decades later. Haunted by nightmares and horrified by what she learned, Liza became obsessed with the case. Now she and co-writer Jennifer Jordan reveal the chilling and unforgettable true story of a charming but brutal sociopath through the eyes of a young girl who once called him her friend. I gave this book 3 stars. Now, there's a reason why I give this book 3 stars. One, because I would want more about the victims, what their lives were like, things like that. Also, it goes between Tony Costa's life and Liza's life. In some points, I think it tries to make Tony Costa seem as like this normal person. I mean, there's a lot of gruesome stuff in here that is quite shocking, and you wouldn't think like Tony Costa being a normal guy. However, the way that she looks at him as a young woman is... One moment. Okay, the way that she looks at him as a young girl is like a father figure, and she continues to do that. And I don't know, it kind of feels like that she's still holding on to that person that she thought he was, and rather than the person that he was, which was a killer. And it just, this book didn't sit well with me. It was interesting to say the least, but it didn't sit well with me in that regards, that I felt that it kind of puts the serial killer a bit on a pedestal. She might not think that, and I understand this is her life. However, to me, it's when you know certain things, I don't think that that would be any good. But she was living it at the time, and maybe that's how she felt at the time. Also, there's a lot of things in there that bothered me personally, and yeah, that's all I can say on that, because it's a bit triggery. But all in all, it was an okay read, and it did tell me a story about somebody that I didn't realize about, but I'd like to have more about the victims and what they were actually doing. You find out a little bit more about some other people at the end, but it's not the same. It's written okay. It's just an okay book that tells her story and how she knew him as a serial killer. Okay, so that's all the books I've read currently. I am going to start working on this pile of books over here, and I've also got some books on my Kindle, and I've also got some books on my Audible that I need to all work on over the next few weeks. So hopefully I'll be able to get you something of an in-depth review, or not. If I'm a bit busy, then we'll just do this book list thing for the month and see what I've come back with. If not, we'll see how this rolls. It's always an adventure over here on this channel. And please, guys, if you do like me, you do like this channel, you like to hear more about different subjects and stuff I'd like to talk about, do please subscribe, share with a friend, and come along on this journey with me. I only talk about things I enjoy, and I hope that I inspire other people to read more, and people that like the same things that I do find my channel. Okay, so I'm gonna end this here. Again, stay safe, stay positive. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.